I'm Mike Anderson. Was president of the Rotary Club of Tucson from 2000 to 2001. That's the big change of the millennium. People couldn't decide whether it was 2000 was the beginning of the millennium or 2001. I got them both years covered in my years. So mad cow disease, the dot-com bubble, polio 2000 for Rotary. Those were the big issues of the time. I was an 18-year member of the club. I had a chance to see and benefit from many years of seeing past presidents in action. And during my year, my goal was to be an entertaining and humorous and fun president that through self-deprecation and jokes and other sort of chicanery would lead the masses to do what I wanted to do. And I had some great plans and goals for 2001. Some of those goals were primarily to maintain some of the important things that our club had already started, the bell ringing, the reading, mentoring program, keeping attendance up. Every president has a responsibility to bring new members in. Those are important to me, was to make sure that we emphasize those things and didn't abandon them, and in addition do some additional new things. Some of the new things that we chose to undertake that year, with the board approval of course, I always did what the board told me to do. I never did anything on my own. I always got their support. Was first to have and formulate the first strategic plan for the club, which was started, the efforts were started under Katie Dusenberry, and then Brett, who preceded me, and it was my job that first summer to meet in Rio Rico and come up with the first strategic plan. It was largely the culmination of the efforts of those two past presidents that resulted in that. We also decided to have home hospitality, which turned out to be a new innovation for the club that's happily has continued on for the last several years. That's where instead of meeting every time at the Rotary, a couple times a year, we meet at members' house and get to know each other member better, and that's turned out to be a very fun program. Blood drive. Incidentally, the home hospitality program was, I had my hard-working director, John McCaleb, was in charge of that project, and he and I had a great time going around. I remember one time in the fall of 2000 going around to a dozen different home hospitality houses, racing from place to place and showing up like we were part of the presidential ball or something like that. We enjoyed that tremendously, and it was a great program. The blood drive is I thought in planning my year that we give money and we give time and we give energy, and I thought, why don't we give blood too and really be big givers in our community. So I initiated, the board initiated the blood drive, which is held a couple times a year at our club and continues to be part of our program. Sid Morse, our beloved club director, was in charge of the blood drive, and he took that on with gusto because he had a blood issue in his health, and he was proud of being involved in that program. Jim Davenport, my good longtime friend since joining Rotary, was in charge of programs, and he did a terrific job of finding exciting and interesting programs. We had the mayor, we had Clint Van Zandt, the international profiler from Washington, D.C., come and talk, and Dick Tomey, of course, the best football coach at the time, and of course Lute Olson and the mayor, and an exciting and interesting smorgasbord of interesting programs was what we wanted to do that year. The club issues that we had that particular year were, number one, would the new president have a heart attack on the bench or not, or would he succeed in leading the club to greater riches and more fun, or would we fall flat on our face? And the big project of the year, which caught the entire attention of the club, was the 10 Bucks Wins a Dream Home project, which in a nutshell was the club bands together and builds a house in town and garners as much support from the community, contractors and cabinet makers and framers and air conditioning guys, all through the contacts of the club, and then proceeds to sell $10 raffle tickets to a lucky winner who would win that house. And that was the goal, kind of a vision that I had initially, and ultimately that program turned out to be fine. We made $250,000 and proved to our membership and ourselves that we could undertake a significant project that involved our participation as well as support from the community, and we could bring in other nonprofit organizations such as the Boy Scouts and the Food Bank and Ronald McDonald House to help sell our tickets, and some 25 to 30 contractors and 25 plus different media types all joined forces to promote the Dream Home project and build it and promote our ticket sales. So at the end of the day in February of 2001, we had this big gala event, and everybody who participated came. We hosted all of these persons and companies that helped us, and we pulled the winning ticket out, and some lucky person won a $150,000 Dream Home, and it happened to be the daughter of one of our members, Pete Ragusan, and we raised $250,000 out of that effort, which went into the club foundation and resulted in having us have over $1 million in our foundation corpus. It was a very satisfying event for the whole club, and the biggest thing that it accomplished was that it proved to the club that we have the ability to undertake a major project, that we could garner support from the community, and that we could truly raise significant funds and allow us then to go on and do other big projects for community service and Reading Seed and other future projects such as that are probably a result in part of the success of that Dream Home project.
What was your biggest surprise when you took over as president? What was the most unexpected thing that happened?
The most unexpected thing that happened is that I was leading a group of people down a path that they were listening to me and following, and that I could get all these people from different fellow members from different walks of life to come in here and follow a scheme of building a house and selling tickets and get 95% participation from them. That was a phenomenal revelation to me, that they would actually listen and follow and participate and help to succeed. That, in addition to the unbelievable support of the board of directors, I was so fortunate to have two people, everybody on the board. John McCaleb was extraordinary in helping to organize the construction of the house. Arnie Jacobson was a co-chair and was instrumental in selling tickets and resolving all the problems and challenges that came along the way. Marianne Freitas was an unbelievable supporter. I mean, we're talking about commitments in the terms of 10, 20 hours a week on each of these jobs for more than a year to help this project succeed. Bob Ernstein was on the board, and he worked tirelessly with his wife Shar down at Gary Gethman's office, who was president after me, keeping track of ticket sales. Recording and sending back the stubs on 35,000 tickets was an unbelievable task, and Bob and Shar did that. Sid Morse was a mentor to me, a big booster and a confidant, somebody that I could call and he'd pep me up and tell me how we could do it. And each of these people were on the board, and John and Arnie and Marianne all went on to become presidents of our club, and their leadership, without those players on the board, we would have never have been able to succeed to the extent that we did. Gary Gethman did a great job in keeping track of tickets. Kathleen Silvers was the fifth board member, and as spouse of our past club president and district governor, she knew Rotary inside and out, and she was stellar in taking care of her responsibilities as a director.
With as big a project as this was, Mike, was there ever a moment where you questioned whether or not it was going to be successful?
The Dream Home project was a 2-year project, really. Or it really turned out to be a 3-year project, but it was a 2-year project between Brett Houston's year and my year, where during Brett's year, bless his heart, our dear friend who has since passed away, during Brett's year, we went through the process of planning for this project, getting the consent of the club and presenting the mini programs to all the different committees in the club to get them to sign on to the concept, so that if it turned out to be a failure, we could at least say, well, these guys said it would be okay to do it. And that was and Brett throughout the whole time was a mentor to me and a hand holder and an encourager, and when we ultimately succeeded a year after Brett's presidency and during my year and played out the auction or pulled the winning ticket, it was a success shared equally by Brett as well as myself and my board. I remember the first day I came into the club and as new president, and it was the first meeting. I had stood up there and told the club all the plans and goals that we had. We're going to increase attendance and bring in more members and do the strategic plan and build this house and make hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then another thing that I told them was that we were going to abandon the scholarship cups. And the scholarship cups were the little metal cup that we kept on the table, and every meeting we put $1 or $2 in the scholarship cups. And certain members of my board wanted us to abandon those cups and bill people directly. So instead of having to put the $1 in each time, they could write a check once a year and they could get a deduction for that. So I get up there that first meeting. I mean, I was into the thing for 5 minutes and I said, okay, and the board has decided we're not going to have the scholarship cups. And so the first thing, as soon as I said that, one of the members who'd had 50 years of perfect attendance stands up and says, Mr. President, if you abandon those scholarship cups, I'll bet you a third of the club is going to resign from the club right now. So that was the start of my year, and it was, from there it was much better than that. But that was a little rough spot initially. Having fun it was one of my top priorities. I was determined to make each week as entertaining as I could possibly do, and I scanned the globe for funny jokes and printed them out word for word on my agenda so that I wouldn't mistell them. So every week I told 1 or 2 or 3 jokes, and the guys from the audience, the women and guys, would yell, more, 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 wanting more. And they always laughed. And they either were laughing with me or at me. It didn't really matter as long as they were laughing. And that was a lot of fun. We also had the 3 Stews. Stu Goldman and Bill Cozine had the reputation for being the funniest guys in the club, and I teamed up with them, and we put on a little skit, every couple weeks where we told jokes back and forth and a little banter and saw who could have the funniest play. It was very satisfying to draw on either the jokes or the 3 Stews as in Stu Goldman's, to get a little bit of humor out of the club. Fining was another one of my sources of fun and excitement, and I was determined in that regard to find as many people as I possibly could. And there were some weeks when I find 2, 3, 4 people at a time. I find well over 100 people during my year, and we collected a lot of extra revenue and got a lot of good kicks out of it. That was very satisfying and a lot of fun.
Now, why don't you give us some of the memorable moments, just the ones that stick out in your mind. Steve Christie, you've got donated a Jeep, you've got the work day at the house, the groundbreaking with the mayor, lunch at the house. That's the day that Joe Crystal got killed. The Valentine's Day party, the 80th anniversary, the drawing at Ventana, Drew winning ticket, Ann Marsh. If you want to go through any of that.
Say them again.
Well, you've got Christie down as having donated a Jeep. Yep. The work day at the house, yep. The groundbreaking of the dream home, the mayor there.
Should I tell them about compacting the
we told them we'd never let them know.
Really?
They'll never work with you. But that's all good stuff that we can put back in
All
the
right.
Dream House stuff.
Okay, all right, all right.
And then after that, I'm going to ask you about
Don't-
the
don't-
thing about the guys who, you lost a lot of members.
Oh, yeah.
Death, your home.
Yeah, well, Susan says I shouldn't mention that.
You were like oh, it's okay.
Yeah,
Because I think it's okay to mention their names,
yeah,
you know, and honor them.
yeah. What,
Honorable moments.
what is it again?
I mean, memorable.
Memorable moment. Well, I had so many memorable moments. We had so many memorable moments that year. It was, I can't begin to count them off, but some of them. When Steve Christie told me that he was ready to give a brand new Jeep as the second prize for the Dream Home event, that was, here's a member, 10, 20-year member who stepped up and gave us a brand new car. That was, I remember driving down the street and he told me on my car phone and I was jumping up and down. I just couldn't contain myself that somebody else had bought into this scheme. And the groundbreaking at the house in the summer of 2000, where Brett Houston was in charge of the ceremony, and we had the mayor there and the councilman Ronstadt and the whole membership. That was fun and exciting. They all got out and dug the ground with gold-plated shovels and started the construction. Each week, Charlie Meeker would keep track of the ticket sales, and the barometer started out with just a little bit of red on the bottom, and as the months ensued and we sold more and more tickets, it finally got up to our members' goal of 15,000 tickets. That was a terrific and memorable event when we reached the 15,000 tickets sold just among the club members, not the outside community. We had numerous work days at the house where club members would go there on Saturday and spend the whole day. You might have 50 or 75 people out there digging in the dirt and laying water lines and forming up cement frames, and that was terrific. And then when the house finally got completed in December or so of 2000, we had a club meeting at the house, and John C. Scott had a live radio remote reporting station there, and the members went through and sat in tables around the house and watched and looked and see how beautiful the house was. It was a very beautiful 2,000 square foot brand new house in the middle of town, and that was a lot of fun to have had that luncheon there at the Dream Home. Probably far and away the best, most exciting and memorable was February 10th, 2001, when we had the final party. We celebrated the 80th birthday of our anniversary of our club, of our club's founding, the 80th anniversary of our club's founding. Probably the best, most memorable event was February 10th, 2001, where we had a spectacular party at Ventana Canyon. It was a Valentine's Day party, a celebration of our club's 80th anniversary, and the drawing of the Dream Home ticket, and seeing 300 or 400 people come together and pulling that winning ticket out and honoring all of our contributors was at that point I was sighing a tremendous sigh of relief. I knew that I got the club out of trouble and we weren't going to go and lose hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it was smooth sailing from then on out. And during my year, I had the sad duty to attend nearly a dozen funerals of the fellow Rotarians who passed away, and it might be nice to memorialize those guys. And some of them were Bill Little and Bill West, Jay Fuller, Dick Marsh, who was a district governor, Bill Wood, who was a past president, Joe Crystal, who died unfortunately the afternoon after the party that we had at the house, Rick Ricard, Dewey Barish, who was my next door neighbor and fellow Rotarian for 20 years, Ray Terlizzi, who was a past president and an attorney, and George Eli. I made every one of those funerals and wrote sympathy cards to all of their spouses and families, and that was a kind of a solemn aspect to my year.
What advice would you give a club member who was aspiring to be the president of our club?
For me, being president of the club was probably the single most important job I ever had. the one that caused me the greatest stress, I am sorry to say, but also the absolute most tremendous satisfaction. Being president of the Rotary Club of Tucson was clearly one of my fondest accomplishments in life, and I got tremendous satisfaction out of the job. I probably had been asked a couple times prior to my year to be president, and I didn't feel that the time and place was right for me. But when they asked me in 1999 if I'd do it, I finally, after nearly 20 years of being a member, I said, yes, I'll do it. And I then decided I was going to put my heart and soul into it and do the very best job that I could. Probably as much for my own personal sense of accomplishment as for the benefit of the club. I was not about to make a fool of myself or do a lousy job or fail, and that's the advice I'd give to anybody who would want to become president of a Rotary Club is to start from the ground floor and be a dedicated member, attend the meetings, bring in new members, include your family in Rotary activities, volunteer for chairmanship of any of the dozens of committees. There's more leadership opportunities in this club than you could possibly imagine, and there has to be a place that you could find a place that you feel comfortable and that you can shine. And then that's through that, doing a good job at the committee level and being a good member and enjoying the fellowship and distinguishing yourself by some outstanding service. Those are the steps that are going to get you the attention that you need in order to become a director in the club, which is a position that's chosen through a vote of the membership. And then through your directorship, that's when you have a chance to work extra hard to be a good director. And then if you've ingratiated yourself through your hard work and dedication with the past presidents who have the job of selecting new presidents, then you're undoubtedly going to be chosen to or given that opportunity to lead our club. And I can only tell you that while it is a tremendous effort and it will take considerable sacrifice, the benefits that you'll get from it are unbelievable. The friendships that you'll get, the breadth of experience that you'll get in working with different members is incomparable. My best and probably nearly only friends are fellow Rotarians. Over the course of my time in Rotary, fundraising has been one of the single most controversial issues that we faced. When I came into the club was eat and have lunch and say hello to your buddies and go out and do your business, and there was very little, if at all, any fundraising activities. And when I became a director and under Larry Adamson's tenure in 1986, I think it was, I said, you know, we got to get out there and we got to do more in this community. We've got to start to raise some money and be more involved in the community financially. And that met with some disagreement, and a lot of people said, we don't want to be raising money, we would rather just eat and, you know, we'll go be on boards of directors of other nonprofits. But and so over the years, despite the naysayers, and so that first year in 1986, we had our first annual fundraiser. Under Larry's jurisdiction, his leadership, I was the fundraising chairman, and from 1986 on, we almost every year have had some sort of fundraiser. We would raise from $20,000 to $30,000 or $50,000, either an auction where we would donate items and we'd have a nice evening and auction items off, or a raffle where we would sell tickets and raffle off cars, or a round the world raffle where we got trips around the world to different destinations, and then we auctioned those trips off. Then finally to the car show, to the Dream Home Project, and then ultimately to the car show project. So if there was a guy to point a finger at as to who was more responsible than others for getting us into reaching down in our pocket and raising money. I suppose I deserve that that label. Fundraising to me is an important part of the vitality of the club. It gets our members involved in a common activity, and then it gives us the opportunity to decide upon where to send the money that we've earned. So that's been a satisfying thing. And the Dream Home project was designed to have a major fundraiser that we could repeat in future years, and it didn't turn out to be followed in subsequent years, but I'm elated as the membership that we chose another project that hopefully will be an annual and ongoing project, the car show. My best friends are all Rotarians. I say that unabashedly. I don't have time to spend, or much time to spend with anybody else, but when I can go to Rotary once a week and I can see familiar faces and I can go to dinner or go on ski trips or hikes or work on service projects, that is by far one of the finest parts of my life. And I've had the good sense to include my family in as many activities as possible. My kids have taken hikes and worked on club service projects, and my wife Susan has been an extraordinary supporter. Without her, and this is probably my final thought, without her support, I would never have been able to be president, nor would I have had the successes that I've enjoyed, nor would I have had the fellowship that I get from my fellow Rotarians.